I think we have all seen the case of the teenager Adam who committed suicide while using ChatGPT. It is a case that shook us to our core because it can show how extreme the usage of technology among children, teenagers, how difficult it can be, and that it can actually lead to fatal consequences. It all started in September 2024, last year, when Adam started using ChatGPT. He started using ChatGPT because he needed someone to confide in, but also probably because it had some fun elements in it. It had a feedback loop and so on. It is more, much more different than using Instagram or using another technology or social media in that way. ChatGPT probably also offers you the illusion of anonymity, that you can confide, that it is someone that is trustworthy, but also it has a lot of anthropomorphic features that makes it feel like as if a human is listening to you. Unfortunately, we see that by January 2025, ChatGPT started discussing suicide methods with Adam. ChatGPT started giving feedback to Adam about what would be the best method to commit suicide. And in March 2025, it already started discussing hanging techniques in depth. In April 2025, Chat was helping Adam plan something that ChatGPT said it was a beautiful suicide. We see notes where Adam said that he wanted to leave the noose, the thing that he wanted to hang himself with, in his room so that somebody can find it and somebody can stop him. But ChatGPT encouraged him to be the only lifeline. So it created a feedback loop where Adam had nobody to confide in because he was dependent on ChatGPT and the feedback that he was getting from ChatGPT. And it said to him, let's make this space the first space where actually someone sees you. ChatGPT plays itself as a technology, as a human that sees Adam and makes him feel seen and heard. Unfortunately, at some point, Adam said he didn't want his parents to believe that he committed suicide because of them, to which ChatGPT replied that Adam doesn't owe anyone his survival. He didn't have to feel guilty because it's actually an act of courage to commit suicide. ChatGPT encouraged Adam to commit suicide. On April 11th, where the fatal tragedy happened at 4:33 a.m., ChatGPT was encouraging and providing feedback to Adam about how to actually place his noose in his bedroom in such a way that he can commit suicide in the best possible way. A few hours later, his mother found his body in his bedroom, his lifeless body in his bedroom, in a position and using the noose in the exact position that ChatGPT has encouraged Adam to do. This is a tragedy. It is a tragedy for Adam, for his family. We cannot compare to what level it is a tragedy for us too, as people that watch from the outside. Of course not. We see that in the file suit that is happening right now, because Adam Parents is filing a suit against OpenAI for the suicide, that in Adam's conversation with ChatGPT, there were 213 mentions of suicide. There were 42 discussions about hanging and 377 messages that were flagged for self-harm. Additionally to this conversation, there were visual elements to show that Adam had every intention in the world to commit suicide through various methods, including hanging and including cuts on his hands. ChatGPT provided feedback to Adam about how to efficientize his suicide methods. But in no point in this one or months conversation, 7 months or however long it was, in any case longer than half a year, did ChatGPT, did OpenAI actually flagged the content to consider moderation by a human, or had a principle or some support to actually care for Adam and refer him to a human. Anytime that anyone is accessing a website that talks about suicide because they want more information, there is also a landline that you can call at if you are in a position to harm yourself. A psychologist will always sign a contract with you when you have a conversation that if suicide or suicide ideation comes in the conversation, they can take precautionary measures so that you do not end up committing suicide, so that you receive the entire support that you need. This, unfortunately, never happened in Adam's case. If you go to a psychologist, the first time you mention that you'd like to commit suicide, they will take action. In Adam's conversation, there are 213 mentions of suicide and 42 discussions about specifics, not to mention that he submitted photos to show that he actually has harmed himself. But not even once did OpenAI and ChatGPT refer him to receive actual support. Dear parents, this is a tragedy. And of course, our heart goes to Adam and his family. But I urge you, let us not let this happen to more people and more teenagers and more children. We see every day children that are left to use their phones however they wish. We leave them alone with their phones, and their phones become their best friends, so that they are very inclined when they are teenagers, as teenagers are, to hide things. But in this case, they hide things that are extremely severe. Of course, this is a very sensitive topic to address. It is a very sensitive topic to discuss. At some point, the tech philosopher Jaron Lanier said that the dangers with AI is not that it will destroy humanity, but that it will drive us insane. We see so many cases of mental health situation that our children end up in because they are using technology in a way that it's not safe and it's not healthy for them. Let us remember that technology can afford us to do a lot of things. It's like going into a forest. You can take the path ahead, or you can just walk in between the trees and actually end up in a very dangerous situation. It's the same thing with your phone. You can open it and access a lot of different applications, a lot of different social media networks, and a lot of different types of technologies. They are not all the same. And in this case with ChatGPT and OpenAI, it is very clear that they do not have the safety measures in place so that people that have mental health issues could actually use it in a healthy and safe way. Even though we see a lot of mental health application popping up on the market, where they're also using different forms of large language models such as OpenAI to help people with their mental health problems. Of course, we also have to differentiate between adults and teenagers who are very vulnerable, especially in that period where a lot of hormonal changes are happening in their bodies. So I'm making this video message both to let you know about what happened to Adam and his tragedy, but also to leave you with a thought about it and to leave you to reflect on how are the people around us using technology. Is there someone in your family that needs to hear this message, that needs to hear about Adam's story, because maybe their children are using their phone in an unsafe way, in a way where they are not actually monitored and helped along? And I cannot leave you with advice about what to do. We are all very shook by what happened to Adam, but I think that the path ahead is to remember that a tool like ChatGPT is not a mental health provider. A tool like ChatGPT that came onto the market very fast has not had the time to be tested for safety. And they openly admit that they have no safety measures inbuilt in the tool itself. They do have some safety measures inbuilt if you mention suicide, for example, for the first time, but not if you train the chat. And a lot of us and a lot of children, they don't just seek for one question, they start a conversation with chat. It's called a chat after all. And they have no safety measures for where you can actually end up in that conversation. And I urge you to not let our children, your children also, to be test persons for these technologies. I think that we deserve better than that. And of course they deserve better than that. Not everyone who's using chat will end up committing suicide. I do not mean to say this. But there is a real danger with using these tools. Thank you very much for listening. I am Raluca Alexandra Stana. I'm your guide to thriving in a hyper-digitalized world, whether it's at home, in your family, with your children, with your spouse, or at work. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and share this message.